Howdy, and welcome to Full Sport Press. I am Zach.
And I'm Peyton.
I believe we're both watching the college football playoff rankings. Is that what's happening?
I just turned it on. I didn't even realize it was
Perfect.
on until you.
Yeah. So we
Looked.
might be looking up and down a little bit here at the beginning, but just bear with us. So we missed last week. Peyton was sick. It is what it is. But we're we're back here with you this week. There it is. And we don't have a game of the week to review or a what we saw, so we're just going to get straight into the headlines. So we're going to start off with the WNBA. This is old news, so I'm not going to look at it or dive into it too much, but the Aces are back-to-back champs about 2 weeks ago now, it feels like. The Aces beat the Liberty 70-69 in a absolutely crazy, like, nail-biter, instant classic, like, championship winner go home game. And it was really good. The Liberty got up, I believe, by 12, and then the Aces fought back and ended up winning by 1. Alicia Clark played really good. She locked up Stewie. Stewie, the MVP, went 3 for 17. So that's all I have to say on that. Of course, Asia Wilson, she played amazing, 24 and 16, and a great defensive night for her. And then, of course, the Aces had a lot of fun at the parade. There's all kinds of videos out there. I've watched all of them, it feels like. My favorite one, though, is absolutely of Becky Hammond, the Aces head coach, standing on the parade stage and paying her WNBA fines, like in cash. It was hilarious. She has a lot of fines as well. And then the other WNBA news is that the lottery actually got announced today. That is going to be on December 10th at 4:30. It's going to be in between, I believe there's like a triple header of women's basketball college games on that day. So it's going to be kind of in the middle of one of those. And right now, the Fever have the best odds to win that at 44.2%. So hopefully, Caitlin Clark. Oh, wow.
Whoa.
Oh, wow.
Who's going to be one? Ohio State?
Oh, wow.
Wow. Okay.
All right. Well, we have to talk about the NBA first, but we're going to jump into those here in a second. I think we might talk about that first, honestly, because why not switch it up a little bit? Okay. Getting into the NBA. Wow. Man. Okay, first of all, expansion has been, I believe, confirmed. Like, I know they announced that they are expected to expand within the next CBA or whatever, the next media rights deal. And so that should be coming. Obviously, it's going to be for 2 cities. I think the top 2 cities right now are Seattle to get a team back and Vegas, which would add 2 West teams. And is weird, but I honestly think that maybe you could move over Memphis or New Orleans to the East and even them up. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like that's probably the best.
I personally don't know if I would say expansion is necessary because I feel like the bottom teams are pretty bad, and I'm not seeing if there's going to be enough, especially the way the NBA is going right now with building super teams and the stars aren't spreading out.
Yep.
It's going to be hard for any other teams to come in and compete, and like I feel like there's just not enough right now to warrant that, in my opinion.
Yeah, the only thing I can think is maybe they're trying to counteract the super teams with spreading it out more and adding more teams. I don't know, because I mean, you really don't need it because you also have the G League, so you have a pool of players who aren't good enough to make it into the NBA, but they're right there still affiliate. Like in the WNBA, it's needed. There are 12 teams with 12 roster spots. It's absolutely needed. But the NBA, you have a lot of talent there to choose from. So kind of weird, but I'm all for Seattle getting the Sonics back. And it'll be fun to see what Vegas does too. This might be the first time we have a WNBA team that would be, I guess, technically over an NBA team because they were there first and they have definitely asserted themselves with Vegas dominance, I would say. Okay. The season has started. We are about a week in. I don't know a whole lot except that the Pacers look pretty good. Have one of the best offenses in the league right now. You know anything?
I know Wembanyama was called just tall.
Yeah, and then got posterized. Whoever, what's his name? Dylan Brooks.
Dylan Brooks, man.
I
Anyway,
love it.
I don't want to get on that right now. But the Hornets, just because this is what I've watched,
Yeah.
seem interesting. Mark Williams looks really good. Center, second year center out of Duke.
Mm-hmm.
LaMelo really hasn't looked great. He's gonna have to really take a big step forward at some point because not looking good.
Yeah.
But Brandon Miller has done pretty good. He's averaging 17 points a game, 6 rebounds, 2 assists.
Mm-hmm.
He's
Nice.
been one of the bright spots for sure for the Hornets so far.
Yeah, that's good.
And I saw recently on Twitter, Scoot Henderson, one of the other top picks, has been struggling in Portland, not doing much. So yeah, that's what I've seen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we can also touch on the NBA city uniforms that came out, or maybe
Oh
are they
man.
just wearing
Yeah.
those for the tournament?
No, I think those are the city uniforms, but they
Well,
also
because
go with the.
all the courts in the in season tournament are themed after the city uniforms,
I
and
like all. I think all the courts are pretty good.
there's a couple courts I'm not a fan of, but for example,
I mean, over
Atlanta,
overall though,
Atlanta's
compared
doesn't
to.
have anything to do with their colors. It's just lowercase font. I don't get it.
Yeah,
I don't
I don't
know
know.
what it means. I don't know why it's light blue. It doesn't make any sense.
It is
Um,
weird.
so they're just all the uniforms, in my opinion, are pretty bad. There wasn't
They
one I
are.
was like, there wasn't one uniform I was like, oh, cool. I
No.
mean, there was the
Yeah.
Utah Jazz throwback that was already a uniform. That's the only one
That
that's
we've
like, okay,
seen.
that's good.
Yeah.
And the rest of them are like, really? That's the best we could come up with the best designers you would think in the world.
Yeah.
That's all you could come up with. It's a little
They
underwhelming for sure.
they really need to stop doing them every year. Make it every 3 or 4 years. And it gets
Yeah.
old, I know, but every 3 or 4 years is a good cycle because then it keeps refreshing it. You don't have to like change the logo or anything. You just change the uniforms up some. But yeah, moving on down the list, another announcement that happened right before the season started is that the All Star Game is returning to East versus West format. So cool. I don't think it's gonna. I don't think it's gonna make anybody care any more than they do now.
I
But
mean, if anything, I think this
sure.
makes them care less. I thought it was cool with the draft and the adding someone or
Well, I thought they're
drafting
keeping the
someone.
draft. Are they not
But
keeping the
it's
draft?
then why is it East versus
I
West?
don't know. I have no idea.
That doesn't make
Yeah, you're
sense.
right. Yeah, you're right. It doesn't. I don't know. I would like it better if it was the same as the MLB. Like the East or West gets playoff advantage, but whatever. And in the last bit of news from the NBA that I just want to touch on because I think is cool, and this is my podcast, so I can say what I want. Shea Flores has become the first openly transgender and non-binary referee in the NBA. That's where they ref now, but also in professional sports or American professional sports. So it's pretty cool. They have been reffing for like almost 20 years now, and all in the same season did NBA G League games, college games like in March Madness, and also WNBA games. So they have been on a tear refing in their career. And I read there's like a whole write up on GQ if you want to read it, but it's really cool to kind of see all the other refs and kind of the people above them talking about how good they are. And there's just you've never thought about refing have raw talent, but that's how the ref scouts talk. It's crazy to hear. But yeah, I thought it was cool, and I wanted to share it because I'm all about making sports an inclusive place for everybody. Alrighty, moving on to college football. Did you want to touch on college basketball? Because I know there's one big announcement you would probably like to share.
The only thing I have to say is Duke still reigns supreme in the recruiting game. John Shire picked up where Coach K left
Yeah.
off. They pull in the number one recruit next year, Cooper Flag, who has. I don't know if you've not watched any of his tape or seen his stats lines from AAU. He has potential to be extremely, extremely good. He put up like the stat. It was like a triple double, almost averaging it. And like he's just insane. So, just another one. I don't know if you saw this, Zach, but his idols or people he liked watching grow up were Grayson Allen and Jason Tatum. So that is just the fact that anybody thought it was possible he was going to UConn after he said that is hilarious because I just know all the UConn fans were saying on Twitter, they were like, "Oh, we're getting Cooper Flag, all this stuff after his visit." Yeah, he's coming into Duke, and
you know where he should have. We all know where he should have gone, and that was Maine. But whatever.
That wasn't going to happen.
It should have. That's his home. That's where he should have stayed. Alrighty, moving into college football. We were going to give you this update last week, but we weren't here, so here it is. Now, college pick'em, real quick. The standings are getting a little crazy. So my dad, Brian, he is in the lead in first place with 323 points. Right under him in second is John with 312 points. So they're the closest. And then I'm under John with 299 points. Then is Caleb at 277. Your mom, Amy, has 244. You forgot a couple weeks, so you're down at 215. And then I think my mom has quit picking. She's at 126. So just a little update on the college pick'em. Peyton, are you here? You picking the rest of the time?
Hopefully, we'll see.
Dear God,
it slips my mind sometimes.
Alrighty, but yes, that is the update for college pick'em. My dad told me that he was gonna be so mad if we didn't shout him out being in the lead, if he would have fallen out. So there you go. You're welcome. All right, we got a few weeks to catch up on for college football. I'm not going to get crazy into this. We're going to look back at week 8, just a few games that kind of had a lot of meaning at the time, especially. So Duke and Florida State, they had a really close game at the start, but then I think Florida State just pulled away. They ended up winning 38-20. Obviously, it would have been fun for Duke to pull off that upset, but they couldn't get it done. Next up, did you have any thoughts about that one? Probably not, I would imagine.
I was at the Charlotte FC game, so I did not get to watch most of it.
Hey, you know what I just noticed?
What? Oh.
That's funny. Okay. Another week 8 game. Utah barely edged out USC. They won 34-32. Their defense wasn't as dominant as everybody kind of has or thought it would be, has seen it be in the past years. This year, USC does enough to stay in it, but can't get it done at the end of the game. Where am I? And then, of course, I always have to talk about Clemson losing. They lost to Miami in overtime, 28-20. Dabo's an idiot. He had some stupid quote after the game. Yep. Last week's games, big one. Oklahoma got upset by Kansas, 38-33. I got to watch this game. Peyton, did you get to see any of it?
I did not.
Oh, man, this was a good game. It was just down to the wire. At the very end, they kept going back and forth, and then finally Kansas scored and held Oklahoma somehow. I did not think they were going to win that, but they did.
I feel like if we would have had the episode last week, I would have picked Kansas to win. I'm just going to point that out.
Yeah, you probably would have. I think if they were on picks, I'm pretty sure I picked them to win. But I don't know if they were there or not. Okay, next up, Duke was scoreless against Louisville. Louisville looks good. They only have one loss so far, and their playing team's pretty good. But they won 23-0. Peyton, did you have any thoughts on that one?
I'd like to just move on.
Alrighty. Oregon ends up destroying Utah 35-6. That Oregon offense is just too much. And obviously that defense is a lot. But Utah, it seems like missing, what's his name? Who's out? Cam Rising. It seems like missing him is coming back to bite him. And then Lastly, Stanford almost upset Washington, but they couldn't get it done. They lost 42-33, and Michael Penix, of course, pulls it out for the Huskies, keeps them undefeated, and moves them on into this week, week 10. Here are some games that you need to keep an eye on and look out for. I'm not even going to go over anything with them except for just watch them because they're important. Texas A&M versus Ole Miss. That's a big SEC game. It'll be interesting for the SEC West race. 12 o'clock on ESPN. K-State versus Texas. This is 12 o'clock on Fox. Texas has a chance still to get into the playoff as long as they win out. And Kansas State in the AP poll was ranked. I'm not sure if they're ranked here or not. But they're right there. They're a two-loss team, so they could absolutely give Texas a run for their money. At 3:30, ACC Network, Louisville and Virginia Tech. This is really just a trap game for Louisville. They're a one-loss team. Virginia Tech is good. They could beat them, so who knows. Bedlam, Oklahoma State, 3:30 on ABC. Oklahoma just came off that loss to Kansas, and Oklahoma State only has 2 losses, I believe. So this is always a big rivalry. It's a back-and-forth game. It's always a shootout, so this should be a fun one. Whew. All right. Kansas and Iowa State, 7 o'clock, ESPN. Tune into that one. The Jayhawks looking to cap off on their big upset last week and not have a letdown against Iowa State, who is kind of holding their own in the Big 12. And then lastly, Washington versus USC. This is a huge one, not only in the Pac-12, but in the playoffs because Washington is number 5. They're undefeated. This is 7:30 on ABC. They are undefeated, right? They lost to somebody, didn't they?
Who?
Washington.
No, they're undefeated.
Yeah, I thought they all. Maybe they.
No, they're undefeated. They almost lost to Stanford.
I thought there was another one. Okay, but yeah, Washington, USC, 7:30, ABC, and then quickly, Peyton, you want to talk about the rankings?
Before we do that, I have my special watch of the week. For no apparent reason, it's just something random I come up with every week. We're going with the Battle of the Gamecocks, Jacksonville State versus South Carolina. Who gets to earn the title of Gamecocks for this season? Jacksonville State is 7-2.
It might be them. It really,
it could, yeah,
they
it
really
could very easily be the Jacksonville State Gamecocks that end up being the real ones. South Carolina is favored by 15 points. But who knows, honestly.
It's not going to happen. Okay. Looking at the rankings real quick. So you heard, we'll just go 6 through 1. That's the only ones that really matter. Number 6 is Oregon. Number 5 was Washington. 4 is Florida State. 3 is Michigan. And then I'm sure you heard it earlier. Ohio State is at number 1. They put Georgia at 2. What are our thoughts?
I do not agree. Ohio State may have had some good wins, but we're not convinced they're good wins yet. But in my opinion, their offense hasn't looked good enough in big-time games to warrant a number 1 ranking. When they played Penn State's offense was just really bad, honestly. And maybe Ohio State's defense was really good, but Ohio State only put up 20 points. And then when they played Notre Dame, they won 17-14. And Notre Dame since then obviously lost to Louisville, almost lost to Duke. It's hard to tell right now how good anyone is, obviously, but it is interesting to. I don't know if I really see the case for Ohio State at 1 over Georgia.
I don't
Georgia
see the
has
case for Georgia at 1.
Yeah.
Besides the fact that they're 25-0 in the last whatever games, like. But why?
I'd argue that's enough, though.
I don't, because why do we care? That's so long ago. Talk about this season, first of all.
I mean,
but
they
haven't lost this season. They haven't played anybody.
Well, they beat Kentucky, so
okay, great. Kentucky's not that good.
Well,
Kentucky lost to Tennessee.
They did, but I mean, we can make that same argument about Notre Dame, and we don't know anything about Penn State, so.
But what they just showed on there, whenever they pulled up the rankings, was Ohio State has a 15th in the 15th in the country strength of schedule. Georgia has 100. So off of that, I'm fine with it. I don't.
Well, these next 3 weeks.
If the team goes to 1 for me, it's right now. It's like Washington or Oregon. who just destroyed
Well,
Utah.
Oregon has lost.
I don't care. I think they're the best team right now. They've looked the best.
Well,
Just go
Washington
off
did beat
who
them.
has looked the best.
Well, Georgia will have 3 games in a row to prove themselves.
Yep.
They play Missouri next week, and then
Yep.
or wait, no, is that this week? That's this week.
This
Sorry,
week.
I was getting the dates mixed up. And then Ole Miss and Georgia will play on the 11th, and then Georgia and Tennessee on the 18th. So those are 3 games in a row of ranked opponents. Hopefully they stay that way.
Mm-hmm.
That will
Yes.
really, really be Georgia's test for the year.
Yeah. I mean, that's the big is all the people that any of these teams at the top have played have all have to win. So they look good. Because I don't think that the Notre Dame win or almost loss looks bad for Ohio State, because almost losing to Duke isn't bad because they're good this season. Louisville, they might not be for real, but they have looked really good this season, especially for Louisville. They're 7-1. Like, I don't know. I just don't want to go off last year's and previous year's stuff because I think that's stupid. It's a new year.
All right, let's move on to the NFL.
Oh yeah.
Talk a little bit.
Standings.
Obviously I'm still undefeated.
Jesus,
Was there ever any doubt?
Yeah, but last week or
16-0.
This week, every single team that won except for one scored like 200 points, and the one team that didn't scored 199.98.
There was one other, but almost every. Davey Wavy had
Yeah.
186.
Well, he lost.
But yeah, I once
crazy.
again was the top scorer, 269. Good Lord.
That's just ridiculous.
So we're getting into the end of the season right now. I'm 16-0.
Yeah.
John is still 15-1. You're 11-5. Caleb at 97.
Yep.
Cam at 97, and then Billy Ray holding it down at 115.
Yep. But still in the playoffs, you still got Cocaine Bears, fadeaway threes, and Davey. So
still a long way to go, and I'm interested to see like how much the median plays into records towards the end. That's where it'll get to seem interesting. All right, from week 8, a little bit to talk about. We got the Jags. They've moved to 6-2. They kind of had their little struggle to start the season. Everybody was like, "Uh-oh, maybe the Jags aren't the same team from last year. Are they going to make the playoffs?" Yeah, they're going to make the playoffs. They are on a roll. They ever since they lost to the Texans, they have not lost. They destroyed the Steelers 20-10 in a pour down rain kind of game. Then the Panthers pulled off their first win over the Texans, even though the Texans tried to ice Eddie Pinheiro about 3 times by calling it offsides and all this stuff. It was insane. But Panthers get their first win. Bryce Young wins the battle of the number 1 and number 2 pick. So it's official to say the Panthers made the right choice. Then we had the Big Ten battle of the week in the NFL. The Jets defeat the Giants 13-10 in overtime. Another game, it was like a bunch of rain, and it almost set the record for most punts in an NFL game. I believe there was 24 punts between the two teams. So that was fun to watch, I'm sure. Let's see. Yeah, Thomas Morstead had 11 punts for 529 yards. And Jamie Gillen had 13 punts for 549 yards. So 24 total punts in a game. It's a lot of fun. I know, what's his name? Kirk Ferentz was watching that, and he was a proud coach at that moment.
Rest in peace, Brian, though.
Yeah.
Man, that sucks.
Will Levis has a great debut. I did read this thread on Twitter about how maybe the stats may lie a little bit in this scenario. He did go 19 for 29, 239 yards, 4 touchdowns, but most of those, the big plays kind of were wide open from what they were saying. DeAndre Hopkins kept getting wide open deep or making a big play after he caught it. And there were a couple bad throws. So maybe Will Levis will return to kind of what was expected, but a great start for him. He gets the Titans a win in his first start. Something to watch for there. The Rams may suck, honestly. They lose to the Cowboys 43-20, fall to 3-5. Big Kirko, RIP. He is out for the year. Torn Achilles. The
Welcome,
Vikings
Josh
traded.
Dobbs. Yep.
Yeah, traded for Josh Dobbs today. I think they're still starting Jaron Hall from
Yeah.
BYU this
Mm-hmm.
week, most likely.
They are.
Gardner
I think they already said they are.
Minshew mania starting to wear off in
Yep.
Indianapolis.
Oh, it already has.
Yeah, it's not looking good
It's
for the
been
Colts
gone.
currently. Then we got the Broncos beating the Chiefs in the weirdest game of the week. Somehow there was 5 turnovers for the Chiefs, and the Broncos just capitalized on it. They played smart, didn't have any picks from Russell, and they win 24-9, shut down the Chiefs. Next thing is, are the 49ers okay? Is it time to hit the panic button in San Fran? 3 straight losses, lose to the Bengals 31-17 at home. What are you thinking about the 49ers right now, Zach?
They'll be all right.
Is Brock Purdy finally regressing back to normal?
What's his normal? He's always been good.
Well, he's been good in the NFL, but we know he wasn't before.
He was good at Iowa State.
Not as last year. He was not good.
Well, I don't know. Maybe. Devo's also out. Doesn't help.
Yeah. But I mean, something to watch for. They did just trade for Chase Young today, so that won't help. That won't hurt,
Gosh,
I'm sure.
that's crazy.
But on the other side of this, the Bengals are back. Joe Burrow looked like himself. Let's see if they stay that way. All right, let's move on to Week 9 and what to look forward to. The matchups we're looking at. So starting off Thursday night prime time, we got Titans versus Steelers. Will Levis will probably be making his second start for the Titans versus Kenny Pickett and the Steelers. Honestly, this could be a snooze fest. I would not be surprised if it is very boring.
Yeah.
It doesn't look good on paper. That's what I'll say about it. We're gonna save what the Germany game is for a little bit later. My 1:00 game to watch for is the Seahawks at 5-2 versus the Ravens at 6-2. Now, last time I did this with the Ravens, they ended up destroying the Lions, but let's see what happens. The Ravens coming off a close win over the Cardinals. The Seahawks a close win over the Browns. So both two close wins. Can the Ravens continue their run, go to 7-2? Seahawks, can they move to 6-2? I think that's a little bit surprising for them, considering they're at the top of the NFC West right now, and a win for this game would keep them there over the Niners. So that's my 1:00 game. Then my 4:30 game is the Cowboys versus the Eagles. The divisional matchup. Eagles are sitting at 7-1. Dallas sitting at 5-2. This could go either way. It depends on what team for the Cowboys shows up, honestly, and if that defense is able to shut down Jalen Hurts. Then at 8:20 p.m. we have Sunday Night Football. Buffalo Bills, Cincinnati Bengals on NBC. This was a runner-up for Game of the Week for me, but it is interesting. I wonder if DeMar Hamlin will play, because if you remember, last year this was the game he had his injury that happened. So, and it was also a primetime game, which is kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And then Monday night we'll end the week off Chargers at Jets. Honestly, a must-win for the Chargers still. They're kind of in that mode right now every week, I feel like. And the Jets, they're kind of keeping it together. They're 4-3 without
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers. So, and Aaron
Is
Rodgers.
Zach Wilson the guy?
Absolutely not. But Aaron Rodgers was making dropbacks and throwing passes once again this week, and it looks like he could possibly be coming back at some point. So that's something to watch for.
That's going to be crazy if he comes
And
back.
then let's close out my games of the week with the NFL Germany game in Frankfurt, and that is the Miami Dolphins versus the Kansas City Chiefs. And I'm really hoping that the time difference Germany doesn't affect this game, because this could be like an all-time classic, kind of like Rams Chiefs on Monday Night Football, and I want to say 5 years ago, when Jared Goff and Patrick Mahomes went back and forth. This has the same kind of vibe of, we could be seeing Tyreek Hill going all day long. We could see Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes going all day long. And it could be a shootout, or who knows, maybe they're lagging behind because it's in Germany, and it's like a 20-17 game. Hopefully it's a shootout and we see a bunch of scoring from these two teams, because that would be really fun.
So they're going. That game is this week?
Yep.
And they both played last week.
Yes.
Okay. Why would you not give them a bye the week before? But okay.
That's how it's been all year with the London games.
Well, I mean, but that doesn't really count for the Jags because they were there.
Yeah,
already.
But for the other teams.
Yeah, that's crazy. Huh. My game of the week is taking it to the SEC because it just means more here. Georgia versus Missouri. Number 12 versus number 2 now. That's crazy to say. This is 3:30 on CBS. The question here is really, can Missouri pull off an upset? They have been pretty good all year. They have their one loss. Who'd they lose to? I think it was a West team. I don't know who though. Man,
I'll
look it up. Yeah,
I'll look. I got it. Yeah.
They have one loss. Georgia hasn't really played anybody. They have won all their games, and they've won some in huge margins. They've won some kind of close against not wonderful teams. You figure it out?
LSU.
That makes sense. Oh yeah. So really, it's just a question of, can Missouri do it? They have a really good wide receiver. Do you know his name?
Missouri.
Yeah.
Burden the third.
Yeah. He's like getting
Luther.
Yes, he's like getting Heisman looks. I don't think he's at anywhere near the top of it, but people are like, we should be talking about him as well. So it should be an interesting game. I'm excited to watch it. It will most likely be a Georgia win because that's what usually happens in some form or fashion. But maybe at least it'll be entertaining and we get our hopes up. Or Missouri can do it for us and just give America a treat. So yeah. You got any last thoughts?
My special shout out for a game. Colts and Panthers, Zach's team versus our team. Well, Zach's still a Panthers fan, but
I am.
Zach's
but yeah.
Zach's city's team.
My residential team and then my team. Yeah.
We'll be facing each other, and I will be in attendance. I will be taking Karen to her first Panthers game for her birthday weekend, as well as Billy Ray and Cameron, our friends, will be there. So it should be a good time. Zach will be there shortly.
Yeah, I wish I could be there, but I don't know what jersey I'm going to wear, honestly.
You better not.
I don't know what I'm going to do.
You better not. That's all I'll say.
I don't know what I'm going to do. I guess we'll just have to see. I might make the group chat a little angry Sunday. Who knows?
You better not.
Alrighty. Well, that is all we have for you from Full Sport Press. It's been a wonderful time. We hope you are having a wonderful Halloween. Go get some treats. Pull some tricks.
Happy birthday, Karen.
Happy birthday. Bye.
Bye.